Hey guys, so I've been thinking recently of what kind of songs I wanted to make, but I thought of doing something pretty different for a musical kind of video. So I looked all around in my closets and I found this instrument that my grandfather actually carved himself. I'm not really sure what it is. I guess it's like some sort of guitar or something, or a harp maybe. Yeah, so he actually carved this himself and just put guitar strings on here, pretty much. And then I thought, why don't I just make a bunch of different sounds with this guitar to make a song. So I think we're going to give that a try. And on here, this is a little screw thing to tune the nails. And apparently this paper here has the actual notes that they're meant to play. Oh, it's a harp. Okay, so I'll call it a harp. Before we get into making the song, I kind of wanted to just have a little go at this and see if I can play something out of it. As you can probably see there, one of the strings is actually broken off already. Probably can't see it. Oh, there it is. How are these so out of tune, honestly? Okay, so while I'm tuning these, I actually noticed that this is starting to make like a G sounding chord. So maybe that's the key note that I'll make it in. Well, we lost a string. Oh well, the important thing's we got everything perfectly together. So now, like I said before, I'm going to go into Fruity Loops and see if I can make an instrument track out of them. So now what I think I'm going to do is, where are we? Go to Slice X. And what I'm going to try and do is make more notes out of those guitar strings, like pitch them up to make sharps and flats and whatnot. But you know what, I think the key note in this song is going to be G, so I don't think I have to do too much to them. Alright, so there we have it. I finally made a full key range of the guitar and put it in Slice X. All I did was like individually clone each of the sample that I made, then I like trimmed them down and like pitched them up a little bit to give them the sharps and flat. Go ahead and delete all these really quick. Well, I guess since now that we got that guitar track down, we may as well save it. What can I call this one? Well, my grandfather made this guitar harp and he calls my nan Lily, so what about Lily Pad? Alright, so now we have a guitar, so let me just go into the keyboard, play a little melody and see what I can come up with. Okay, so I think we can make some pretty cool sounds out of this guitar. Okay, so now that we have that guitar sound, we can start making a song. I'm kind of thinking of making this song future bass, but in the kind of mid-tempo speed. So let's go 105 maybe? So now what I kind of want to do is just play around on the keyboard and see if I can create like a little catchy melody. There we go, so I kind of played around and made like a few little arpeggiators or something. Okay, so now I've officially made the sound and like touched everything up to make it perfect. I think what I'm going to do now is see what other kind of sounds I can make on this. Like I can make percussions out of this, see if I can make a full song using only this guitar. So I wanted to make this future bass because a lot of future bass songs have acoustic drums and sounds with them. What I thought I'd do with the harp is try and find some things I thought might sound good for a song, like try and figure out which ones sound like a kick and which sound like a snare or something like that. And as far as sounds go, like chords and basses and other kinds of synths, I'm going to try and refrain from using wavetable plugins, but if all else fails, you know, I'll have to use it. But other than that, I think I'm going to try and make some cool sounds out of this harp. So let's see what I can do here. Okay, so I thought of using one of the broken strings here for like a hat. Yeah, it's hard and squeaky, so I think it might work as a hat. Let's see if I can use these two strings here. Maybe hitting them together will make a good hat. Okay, it's a bit quiet. I guess I can make something out of it. I can use this as an effect, like a down sweeper. Okay, let's try and make some sounds out of this screwdriver. Maybe we can use that as an ARP. Okay, maybe that can be a riser. I think we just got ourselves some effects. I think that could be a good build up. We've also got to use this lid. We can probably make a kick out of this. Try and think of like what would be a good snare. Let's see what kind of things we can do with this paper itself. Oh, how's that? Okay, I think we got a good clap out of that. Are we still going to make a sound for the kick? So let me just see if I can use the bottom of this, because this might be very bassy. I think that'll be a pretty good kick. Okay, so we got some pretty interesting ideas that we can do for the percussions, but now I'm just trying to think of some things that I can use for the sounds, like the synthesizers. So I'm going to see what I can do. Remember, we're trying to refrain from using serum and turn the sounds into wavetables. But if that doesn't work, I can like loop a certain sound to use that as a wavetable on its own. I wonder if that could be used for a saw chord. Actually, the harmonic bits on the harp here sound like... I wonder if we can just loop that and use that as a saw chord. Hey, that sounded like a tiger. So I think if we just like loop one section of that sound, then I think it'll be alright for a pretty okay synth. So now what I think I'm going to try and do is take all those sounds that we made and record them all individually, and I think we can make a beat out of this. So it's only been a couple of days since I recorded all the samples on the harp, and I bounced them all individually into their own little samples. And I got names for them all. I got kick, got a few different snares that I like, I got hats, and all kinds of effects here. So now what I think I'm going to do is bounce these all into their own little mixer channels and see if I can come up with a really cool tune. Right, so now we're going to start with our kick. So I think I'm just going to add a bit of distortion on it. That sounded like a cool kick. Not bad. Okay. I think we got our kick down. Let me unmute the snares. So now the kick and the snares are all in beat. See what we can do with the first snare. And we're going to layer all these together. So obviously we're going to have to want to put it in G. Then let's EQ it a little bit so it doesn't sound like there's too much punchiness in it. Something like that. Actually, it doesn't sound too bad with the high end. Good layer of the snare down. Now let's see what we can do with the first one. Okay, maybe it can be used for a clap. Okay, let's see if we can put a bit of reverb on it to make it sound more like a clap. There we go. Okay, after messing around with the first snare that we worked on, I'm starting to feel like these snares are working well with each other. This one I believe is like a crackish, so let me just pitch around a little bit. So straight away it needs the lows taken out. Wait, what? That sounds like a Prada snare. Alright, so now let's EQ and compress this last snare. So let's raise them all a little bit. See how they sound. Okay, maybe the kick can use a little bit of something else. Alright, so now that we got all that down, let's mess around with the hats. So with the hats, obviously I'm going to have to like pitch them up a little bit. Okay, so straight away I'm noticing that the first hat just kind of sounds like a click sound. Yeah, so maybe that can be the middle and this can be the first hat. So let's cut the lows and mess around with the pitch. Alright, cool. So now what I have over here is various effects. Oh, this right here is an ARP, which is basically just like the harmonic part of the harp. Okay, maybe not like that. Okay, I think that's a pretty good ARP. So let's put this with the beat and see how it all sounds. Alright, so now let's see what we can do with these effects. I've also got these here. I figured this would be good for like a reverse snare or like a build up into the actual snare. Right, so I think we've got all our drums down now. So let's see what we can do with these. So that's basically for the down lifter. Okay, so I think that needs to be stretched out a little bit. Okay, I just think that sounds like a nightmare. So I think if we just add reverb onto that, it could sound like a good down lifter. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, if we make it rise, it might sound like a cool uplifter. Let me just stretch it a little bit more so it'll fill all 4 bars. And I think that can go at the end of the beat and make like a cool outro. That should be good. For this little bell sound, I figured I could reverse that and it'll make like a cool like harmonic thing. Let's see how it sounds reversed. So let's just pitch it down, add reverb onto it. Okay, honestly it just sounds like a horror movie. Oh well, we've got our cool ambient sounding bell sound. Alright, so now the beat is all in order and all the arps and the ambiences and all that are playing in G. And one thing I want to do is kind of eliminate the hats in the first part of the drop. Maybe the second hats here, and then maybe the toms too. Then what I also want to do is kind of mess around with the drums at the last end so that they make a good filler. Okay, how about this? Okay, something like that. So now, I believe, we have our beat down. So now let's save it, and let's make up a little melody. So I have the sample in Edison here, so let's just loop it. So let's just go right up close. Let's just loop that whole sample. See how it sounds now. Okay, I think it sounds normal now. So let's go into Edison again and re-record this. And you know what I think we can do? I think we can actually go into 3XOSC and actually load the sound in ourselves. It works. So the reason why I chose 3XOSC is because if you'll put these to the right pitch and fine tune them a little bit, we can stereo spread it and it'll sound like this. I think I'm going to make this little patch into a saw pad that you hear in Future Bass. So something like that. I'm going to go into the piano roll, try and lay down some chords. Okay, so now that I have my chords, I think I'm just going to fix these up a little bit. We'll see how we can get some nice sounding chords from this. I kind of want to detune these a little bit more. I'm going to go harp dimension and detune them. Maybe EQ them a little bit. Then maybe add a multiband compressor. Maybe just normal multiband compression. I think I might just detune them less. So now it's EQ and compress them. Okay, so they sound like okay chords, but what I kind of want to do is add a little bit more chords, but give them a different sound. So let's load another 3XOSC, drag it into here. Kind of sounds like a choir synth or like a vocal synth, so I think this could be good for the lead, which can give us a good opportunity to try and find a melody for this. Okay, I think we got ourselves a pretty good melody, so let's try and record that. So now I'm going to fix them up again. Okay, I think that's a pretty nice melody. So let's just add this once, duplicate it, and then work more on this little area a bit. So let's have a go. That's pretty much our melody. Let's put this onto a mixer and see what we can do with it. I'll go into Serum Effects again. And a bit of delay. So I kind of add like a pitch envelope to give it a bit more punch. Anyway, that's our lead and melody, so let's see how it all sounds together. We're not done yet, we still have a lot more elements to add, like sub basses, more chords, and a bit more leads, so let's see what we can do. So I did think there was a cool part that sounded like it would be good for the sub bass, so let's just go into the chords. I have to pitch these down a bit. Actually, it could make for a good saw bass, just not a sub. How about we just clone this? We'll make one of the basses sound more gritty and the other one sound smooth, like a sub. And don't forget to put the sub in mono. Then let's go to the gritty saw and make it distorted. Cut a little bit of the lows. And why don't we add something like a chorus? Trim these off a little bit. So now, I think they sound pretty good together. Okay, let's play with the chord and the lead. Then all together. Okay, so we got a good structure of our drop now, and now I guess the only thing left to do is add a bit more chords and other layers, and I think we're good. Another thing I forgot to add was that we had some guitars already in here, so I'm going to see which of these sound good. Okay, so honestly, they might need a bit more reverb. Alright, so I think the guitars sound good with everything, so now I guess we'll make some more layers. I do not think this one's going to sound good at all. This could make for an okay chord. So what I think I want to do with this one is add a cutoff envelope. So let's compare these with the original chords that we made. Okay, I think those extra chords actually tied the whole song together quite well. So I think that'll be it for the chords, because I feel like if we just add another set of chords then it'll just end up ruining the mix. So why don't we just add a bit more leads? So I'm thinking about taking one of the samples like on its own and just making it its own synth. What I think I might do for this one is shorten it down all the way and put crossfade on it. Just sounds like glitchy messes. Let's try something like that. So because this is a bit shorter than the main lead, I figured I would just like add a little pitch envelope so it's like a little pluck synth. Actually, this isn't too bad. So let's play that with the original. Okay, not too bad. Let's add one more lead. Cool. So let's just save this, and now let's route all our synth instruments into one channel, and I'll see if I can put some sidechain on it. So let's go fruity balance, create automation clip, make a sidechain envelope. So let's make some sidechain. One thing I forgot to add was a limiter before the balance. And you know what? I think the effects can go up. So where is it? This one? Alright guys, I think that is pretty much it. I think I've made everything I want to make with this song, and I guess it's safe to say that I'm pretty glad that it sounds the way I wanted it, and that I made it completely out of this old dusty thing. So now what I think I'm going to do is compile all this footage into one, then just show individually how I made each and every sample, so that it pretty much demonstrates how I made all these sounds and how I want them to sound in the first place, and how the song all came together. Messing around with it and make some little sounds out of it.
Yeah. Look at all that technology you know how to do. And all that, is that like a synthesizer?
Yeah.
Wow.
This really good friend of ours.
Wait a minute, have you played with that? I don't know what you call that thing. What do you call that thing you made?
It's closest to a zither, I believe.
Zither.
Yeah.
It's amazing what sounds you can do, isn't it? No, that was like that thing that Granddad made.
Yeah.
Zither.
I don't think it's called a zither.
Whatever.
That's the closest
Closest.
that I can come.
The instruction manual said a half.
Oh, yeah, some kind
Yeah,
of
it's a very tiny version of a harp, which is pretty much what a zither is.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it.